Good morning to everyone who's here, and thank you so much for joining us for our July Outdoor Florida webinar presented by the Office of Greenways and Trails. Today we are discussing National Recreation and Parks Month with special guests representing the city, county, and statewide recreation level. So we're excited to be hearing from Charla Lucas with the Florida Recreation and Park Association, Stephanie Serena from Palm Beach County Parks and Recreation, and Teresa Wiggins and Peter Fiera from the City of Port Orange. Now, before I go ahead and introduce our speakers, we have a couple reminders for today. At the end of the presentation, we will have a question and answer portion. So feel free to save your questions until the end, and we will get to them all at once. This webinar is also being recorded and will be available to view on the Florida State Parks YouTube channel in a few days. Anyone who has registered for the webinar will receive the link to that recording. So like I said, we're getting started today with Charla, who is the Chief Operating Officer of the Florida Recreation and Park Association. She is involved in the association's direction at many levels, including creating opportunities to connect professionals, branding statewide efforts to extend the message of the benefits of parks and recreation services to the public and profession, and overseeing educational opportunities to further develop professionals in the field. Before joining FRPA, she worked with the City of Largo for 13 years and the City of Tallahassee for 3 years. And then we'll go ahead and introduce our other speakers as we get to them in the presentation. So we are excited to hear from you, Charla, and the floor is yours if you want to go ahead and get started.
Thank you so much, Anna. We're so glad to be a part of this, and we just really appreciate the opportunity and the invitation to join you for this, the best month of the year. We all love to celebrate Park and Recreation Month. And so I'm just going to start. I'm here from the Florida Recreation and Park Association, like Anna said, just to kind of give an overview of what that month means, what it means to us at like the state level. And then you're going to hear like the nitty gritty good stuff from the guys that follow me here. So before we get started, she already told you a little bit about me. How can I change my thing? There it is. So my contact information is in the presentation, which Anna said she would share with everybody. So if you have any questions about FRPA or some of the stuff that you hear me talk about today, please feel free to reach out. And just a real quick about what FRPA is, because some people just think it's a conference and there's nothing else going on throughout the year. Like you hear, oh, it's FRPA conference. For years, that's all I thought it was. I was like, oh, I'm going to FRPA this year. And now that I work here, I'm like, wait, I'm not actually going to the FRPA office. So just a little bit about what we are. We are a year-round association. There's three of it. Well, there's two of us right now, but normally there's three of us in an office in Tallahassee that work to put together different educational opportunities and advocacy opportunities and all that to support the park and recreation professional at the municipal level and even to the state level. So we're here for all of those things. We're all about you, all about the professional that works in parks and recreation. So just to also relate to the National Recreation and Park Association, we're not like a subsidiary per se of NRPA, but we do support a lot of their programs. We support their certifications, as some of you all are maybe CPRPs or CPREs, those certified park and recreation professionals, or even like the accreditation programs or some of their other programs. We support those continuing education opportunities as well as things like Park and Recreation Month, which was kind of spearheaded by the National Recreation and Park Association. So just so you a little bit know what the relationship is there between FRPA and NRPA, that is who we are. Which one is here? So this month, as you are signed up to learn about, is Park and Recreation Month. It happens every year during the month of July. NRPA's theme this year is Where Community Grows. This has been happening since 1985 as a national celebration, which is pretty cool. That's some long-standing stuff happening. NRPA services over 160,000 professionals countrywide. So there's 160,000 of us that live and work around the United States that feel this passion about parks and recreation and what it means to a community. FRPA helps support agencies involved in celebrating this month by providing messaging and for city and county proclamations. And we also try to help just support you by sharing social media posts or bringing attention to that why park and recreation is important in your local communities. Each year, NRPA also designates, I think it's like the third Friday of the month as Park and Recreation Professionals Day. So that's always a fun day to get to kind of call out our actual professionals doing the work frontline there. So keep that day in mind. FRPA's main outreach, I guess, messaging is called It Starts in Parks. And sometimes I'll see this phrase somewhere and not even realize that people are using it, you know, kind of a thing, which is so exciting because that means this message has infiltrated in all parts of the state. There are agencies that use it, and I'll actually show you a couple examples. Hopefully I'll have time towards the end of my little part here, where agencies use it in all different parts of their marketing, their messaging, their outreach as well. And so that's exciting to watch and see just kind of pop up. We started this in 2006. It's evolved just to include some of the particular messaging that goes with It Starts in Parks. It kind of started out as a plain like message. And then in 2012, we added coaching, connecting, and community. And now we're back to It Starts in Parks. And we have 4 pillars that kind of support the FRPA, I guess, mission. And that's health, community, economy, and environment. And you as park and recreation professionals know that you influence all 4 of those things every single day in all that you do. So those are the things that we like to declare start in parks. And there's a bajillion other things under that that actually, you know, support that as well. So just like a real quick why It Starts in Parks. So like I said, there's those 4 different things. We kind of honed in on these 4 items because they encompass so many other things in your communities. Parks bring communities together in common places without the constraints of everyday life. Connecting to everything around us and each other, we learn to value our environment, our heritage, and our place in the world. Under health, Florida's parks encourage healthy, active lifestyles, as well as social development. Sound bodies and sound minds require physical activity and the chance to experience personal growth. Parks provide this opportunity naturally. Economy, Florida's parks have become an integral part or component to the economic development of the state. Parks provide an investment in the infrastructure needed to accommodate revenue-generating events and tourism, which in turn benefit the local and state economy. Additionally, parks positively impact housing and commercial real estate. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute too. And then the environment, of course, that's naturally what parks lend themselves to. Florida's parks are key in connecting with our natural and historic treasures in order to preserve them. We grow an awareness of our responsibility to protect and cherish these things through stewardship and gentle use, increasing our desire to conserve what we enjoy today and for future generations. So when I was little, I went to summer camps. I was basically thrown in a pool at 6 months old, and so I like to think I started in parks, you know, kind of a thing. So what are this is the little interactive portion. What are some things that you think start in parks? Like, what is your it started in parks? You can put it in the chat if you want to. I just want to get your mind kind of thinking about what are some of those things that you could say it is as we identify that. So, anybody put anything in the chat? Probably not. That's okay. You can think about it.
And we have one person pictured, yeah, imagination.
That is so true. Our parks definitely help with that. Teamwork, exploring, definitely. Yes, Patty, equity and inclusion for sure. All right, great answers. Thank you. So we have our website under the It Starts in Parks area kind of separated out into 3 different things, and that's why, what, and how. So the why is we kind of talk about who influences your community's budget. And, you know, for the most part, this is a little bit older of a research paper. It's from 2017. For the most part, our our local government like kind of influences that spending, which, you know, is our citizens that then influence our local government in that spending. But it was encouraging to know during at this study that 95% of, can't really see that, just of our local government officials personally use local parks, and then 99% agree that their communities benefit from local parks. And I would venture to say that that has probably gone up post-COVID. Post-COVID's a little bit different, but where did people go during COVID? They all went out to our parks and we had to keep up with that, right? So I would say that this has probably increased, if anything. So that's part of the why itself. We have to communicate this importance because it's important, and because our community leaders need to hear why it's important. I know I'm running super short on time, so I might skip a couple things. The rankings that kind of came with that, here are those rankings from that report. You can see how many things parks have a direct impact on. And those are the things that start in parks. So when you are talking about what starts in parks and why it's important, that's exactly it right there. Yeah. So here's the what. We kind of went through that. I read some of those to you. There are different ways to communicate what it is that starts in parks based on the why, right? And we have all kinds of resources, as well as DEP has resources on their website on what that is that starts in parks and how you can communicate that. And then I'm going to just jump ahead because these are all just kind of resource slides. And then how do you use the It Starts in Parks? And then we have some information on our website as well. Using your external resources to shape your message around a story that's close to home for you. So using things that are in the news, using those stories that you have from COVID and all that, to shape that, what it is that actually does start in parks and how that's growing your community, to bring it back to the RPA's message there. So again, some of these resources, this is all going to be in there. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the clock and it's freaking me out.
You're good. You're good on time. Take your time.
Okay, thank you. So so again, these resources, we have all kinds of things. Let me just go back to that. All kinds of things listed on how to use these messages under It Starts in Parks on our webpage. The American Planning Association has some really great briefing papers that you can download and you can pull pieces from, use it in your social media messaging, even on some of like your flyers where you're promoting programs, where maybe you're promoting a Park and Recreation Month program. Putting one of those little bits of data in there just helps immensely. You know, it helps bring that message home as to why this is important, why this is something that your community should be providing with the tax dollars. You hear that all the time, the tax dollars that are being used to support that. So use all these resources. Again, that's just kind of a listing that brings it back to our 4 pillars under the It Starts in Parks messaging. So there's some particular like targeted things there. You'll also find some different flyers that we have translated into Haitian Creole, Spanish, and then English flyers that just kind of bring these messages home. It's important for everybody to be able to read this in their own languages. So feel free to take these and use them and do whatever you'd like with them. And then just a couple of examples of how we've seen the It Starts in Parks message just kind of used on different websites or marketing materials. And again, like, we don't really have a method of keeping track of this. It's just something that I feel like people have grabbed onto and don't even realize that it came from like this umbrella messaging thing, which is really cool. So on websites, bringing it back to different mission messages and including the It Starts in Parks and why, how it starts in parks. Port Orange, I don't know if your website still looks like this. This might have been older, but that looks pretty cool. It looks like it was made. So yeah, just these little ways that communities have embraced the message and can use it year round rather than just this month, and express that importance of it starting in parks and what parks mean to a community. So, and some people will even put these like in their signature on their emails as well. So those are some of the different ways that our messaging kind of goes out there. I say our messaging, it's everyone's messaging, because like I said, everyone has adopted it and is using it within their different communities in different ways. And if there's any way that FRPA can support you in using some of this or making it your own, I would love to help you with that. And now I'm super excited that we get to hear from our city and county representatives on how they incorporate their Parks and Recreation Month celebrations.
Great. Thank you so much, Charlotte, for sharing all those resources. And like we mentioned, this will be sent out, so you can go ahead and check out that PowerPoint later if you want to go back and look at some of those different links and items. So next up, we are going to hear from Stephanie, who is the Outreach and Public Information Coordinator for the Palm Beach County Parks and Recreation Department. Stephanie graduated from Florida Atlantic University with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Multimedia Studies and has worked for the Palm Beach County Parks and Recreation Department since 2012. Some of her current responsibilities include social media campaign management and implementation, management of the department website, and contributing to a wide range of public information, projects, and engagement programs to make residents and visitors aware of the county's programs, needs, and special projects and accomplishments. Stephanie also performs as Oakley, who is the department's mascot that is inspired by the eastern gray squirrels commonly found in county parks. So we're excited to hear from Stephanie's perspective and hear about how they celebrate Recreation Month in Palm Beach County. So go ahead, Stephanie.
Thank you so much, Anna. And again, yes, my name is Stephanie, and I'm really excited to be here and talk about not only our department, but also Park and Recreation Month. So I am sharing the screen, but please let me know if you cannot see it, because I'm actually fairly new to this. So I believe you can see it, but if not, just let me know. But
it looks great.
Thank you. And so, yeah, this is just kind of the intro to the slide, which you'll see the theme for this year's Park and Recreation Month, which is where a community grows. And so I'm just going to start off. I can click over, there we go, to share a little bit about us in Palm Beach County, just because we are a very unique county. And so pretty much our department, we're recognized nationally for excellence in park and recreation management, operating more than 110 parks and recreational facilities, and provide organized recreational programs and services for people of all ages and abilities. And our mission is to provide opportunities for healthy, happy living through award-winning parks, inclusive experiences, and environmental stewardship. And I also shared a little bit about the population here in the county, because as you can see, it's very unique. So as of July 2022, we have an estimate of 1.5 million residents. And that does not include, it might, but also for the visitors, there's 9.1 million visitors that were recorded in 2022. And Palm Beach County is Florida's fourth most populous county, with 6.8% of Florida's population. So as you can see, we are a very unique and diverse county with lots of residents and visitors. So getting our message and communication out is it's a lot of fun, because we're reaching both residents and visitors. And so I'm just going to kind of go through the last couple of years how we celebrated Park and Rec Month. So in 2021, we did have a proclamation, which is usually carried out every year through the Board of County Commissioners. And we partnered with the Palm Beach County Libraries. And so what the libraries ended up doing was, the theme for that year was our Park and Recreation story. So we used that theme, and the libraries had a virtual program called Read, Watch, Listen. And so some of our staff participated in that, and they shared some of the books they like to read and shows they like to watch and music they like to listen to. And then the libraries also put out these really neat book displays that showed the poster that NRPA provides through their toolkit. And they put out some books relating to Florida, which was really cool. And then, of course, they have their own mascot, Dewey. And so Oakley ended up doing some videos and photo campaigning work with a Dewey. So it was promoting both the library, the Florida books, and Park and Recreation Month. And then, of course, there's Oakley with Eric Hall, who was our previous director. And so he's since retired. And so that's them holding the proclamation. And then we also created web banners and had a dedicated web page. So that way people visiting our website or the main county website would be able to go to our main Park and Rec page. And it would have all the information about the theme and then how to submit their park story, since that was the theme at the time. And then we also had again, the posters that NRPA provides. We usually just go ahead and put our logos on those, put like our logo on the poster, and then we send it out to facility managers. And so that way they can print it, post it at the facilities. And then if they have a hard copy, they can take pictures with it or have program participants take pictures with it. And that kind of links into the call to actions on social media. And so for this, at this time, it was the park stories. So we encourage park patrons to submit their park stories to us, like how, a visit at a park or, participating in a program, how that impacted them. And then we would share those stories on social media. And then in 2022, we actually celebrated our 50th anniversary. So that was a huge component that we had in correlation with the Park and Recreation Month campaign. And then again, we had the proclamation. We did the same thing with the poster printouts, and we noticed that these things are really successful. And they're also things that you can do every year that are usually pretty, easy and simple. Same thing with the call to action. So a lot of them go hand in hand. And then for this year, you'll see there's another proclamation photo with Oakley. And then we had the Park and Recreation Professionals Day. And so last year, we ended up having a call to action where we asked people to submit, how like parks, how it impacted them, or maybe recognize like a staff member. And so the campaign itself went really well. We were receiving names of park staff or even like divisions or even facility names. And so we realized that turned out to be really successful. And then internally, our staff really appreciated and enjoyed seeing that. And then also Zach Gottsagen, he was one of our program participants at TR, Therapeutic Recreation. And so he put a video together working with us for Park and Rec Professionals Day. So that was a really nice touch as well. And you may recognize him. He did star in the Peanut Butter Falcon, and he's been in other movies since then. But his story is like really incredible. And so we've been working with him. And so that was really cool. And of course, this year so far, again, the proclamation, we actually had that yesterday. And so Oakley wasn't present, but we did have Nature Center staff on site, which was pretty cool. And then so they ended up bringing the owl and the gopher tortoise, which is pretty neat. And then even below that, you'll see that I think it's one of the summer camp groups, they actually took a picture with the poster. And so that's the poster I was referencing, or the flyer, where you can, like, again, NRPA supplies all of this. All we do is just put our logo on it, and then we send it out electronically to staff. And so you'll see the volunteer has a photo with it. And so this is just a really great way to get everyone within our department involved, both internally and externally. And then you'll see the same thing, the poster printouts, the web banners, the call to actions, all of these things are like really successful, and they work out really well in terms of participation. And then just quickly, just going to kind of run over the positive impacts, because, Park and Recreation, we do a great job every day, year round. But I feel like this, especially July and this campaign, is a really good time, especially with all the different themes that NRPA has. It's just a really good time for us to truly recognize and take the opportunity with the themes, incorporate them, and showcase, why, what we do is what we do and why it's important. And so you'll see the active engagement with the community, the positive impact on department staff, again, referencing the Park and Rec Professionals Day, creating and maintaining partnerships. Like, we've always had a partnership with the libraries, but collaborating with them on this, it just strengthens and, makes that bond even stronger. Or you can create new partnerships. And then highlighting the impact and importance of Park and Rec departments and Park and Rec professionals, because, truly it does start in parks. Everyone has a park story. You may not have one yet, or you had one in the past, but, parks and, recreation is very important. It's good for your mental and physical health, your overall well-being. It's really important. And what I feel like what we do is truly important. And just being able to share that and communicate that message is it's impactful. And I think it's really meaningful. And so there's my contact information. I left my email and my phone number. We have some social media plugs there as well. And so, if you have any questions about anything I had talked about today, or if you want any, just to reach out and chat, there's my contact information, and I would be happy to share. And I think she said we're going to be sharing the slides afterwards, so you'll be able to look at those as well. And that is it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was a great presentation. And exactly, we are going to be sending out the slides after this, so you all will have that information. All right, we got one more presentation before we're going to go to some Q&A. So speakers who are Teresa Wiggins, Recreation Manager, and Peter Ferreira, Parks and Recreation Deputy Director for the City of Port Orange. So Teresa leads the team responsible for special events and recreation programming in Port Orange, and her passion is providing accessible and enjoyable recreation opportunities to every member of the community. She is a graduate of the University of Central Florida, where she earned a Master of Business Administration and a Master of Sports Business Management. Peter focuses on ensuring his team has the right tools to provide parks and recreation opportunities to meet the changing needs of the community. He graduated from Flagler College with a Bachelor of Arts in Sports Management, and he is a certified park and recreation professional. So we're excited to hear from you guys and hear about what you're doing in the city of Port Orange.
Thank you very much, Anna, for the introduction, and I appreciate everybody being on the call this morning. We're super excited about the opportunity and to teach you guys about what takes place in our community during Parks and Recreation Month. As Anna said, I'm Peter Ferreira. I'm the current Deputy Director for Port Orange Parks and Recreation. I've been with the city for 16 years.
And I'm Teresa Wiggins. I'm the Recreation Manager, and I've been with the city for 7.
Yeah, so again, thank you for having us. Super excited. Just to give you guys a quick overview of Port Orange, as I'm sure most people on the call aren't familiar where our city is. So we are located on the east coast of Florida, roughly 10 to 15 minutes south of Daytona Beach. Our population is right about 64,000 people currently. Our mission statement for our department, I did highlight it a little bit in my intro, but we are committed to improving your quality of life by providing parks and recreation opportunities to meet the changing needs of the community. And that really does embody the goal of our department on a day-to-day basis. So Parks and Rec Month. Parks and Rec Month is huge for us. It's a super awesome initiative from NRPA. We really do start planning normally in January, and then as soon as NRPA drops the Parks and Rec Month toolkit, typically in April, May, that really kind of ramps up our planning. Although Parks and Rec Month is really about advocacy of Parks and Recreation departments and kind of what we provide to the community, we also take that a little bit further and make sure that one of our major goals of our planning is to give back to the community and make sure that we're providing special events and different programs that they can enjoy throughout the month. One of the things that we really like to do also is, I think Stephanie said a couple things to this as well, is we like to highlight our staff. This year's theme being where community grows, we came up with the idea of highlighting our employees that not only currently work for the department, but also grew up in the city of Port Orange participating in our programs and now work for the department. So you'll see a short video upcoming in the presentation that highlights those employees. So that's a super cool aspect of it as well. Also on the screen, you will see our mascot, Rec Man. So kind of a cool fact about him is his birthday, if you will, was actually July of 2018, and we released him as part of Parks and Recreation Month in 2018 in July. So that was a cool initiative, and he's heavily involved in all of our marketing and at our special events, and from time to time you'll find me in his suit as well. So I need to get that added to my job description also, Stephanie.
So we also wanted to take you back on some of the different themes that have been released for Parks and Recreation Month in the last few years. We find a way to incorporate the theme into an event at the end of the month, as well as just some of the programming that we do throughout the month. And as we found, as we go through year by year, there are activities or programs that are highly enjoyed by the community and things that we need to continue doing. So we picked up on each of these years' themes, and we end up bringing something forward that we're still doing. So in 2018, it was a lifetime of discovery, and we had our first Discover Fest event. This was kind of a career expo, but geared towards elementary kids. So some of the fun lifestyles and careers that they can get into later on down the road. We have incorporated that into future events at a different level. We still have a career day of sorts as part of our back to school event. In 2019, it was Game On, and we started some Just Play Sports drop-in clinics. We have transitioned that into our Little Oranges program, which is for toddlers, a 4-week program of different sports that we currently offer leagues for, but we do them on the toddler level right before you would be old enough to get into that league. In 2020, as the world was in chaos, it was We Are Parks and Recreation, and this was very much highlighting the critical role that Parks and Recreation staff were serving as those essential workers in our community. We started our virtual staff highlight videos during this year. Again, trying to put a high focus on what we're doing in the community to keep everybody safe and also continue to make sure that their quality of life is good. So we are continuing to do those virtual staff highlights every year because they were popular, and it's a way for us to make sure our staff are feeling the love during Parks and Rec Month. In 2021, our Parks and Recreation story, we started highlighting superheroes in our community. So those everyday heroes that you see, and we started a superhero event at the end of the month, theming around, Superman, Spider-Man, Batman, and of course, the kids love it. So we've brought that superhero theming into the next couple of events that we ran for Parks and Rec Month. 2022 was We Rise Up for Parks and Recreation. So that is when we heavily leaned into the local heroes. So water plant treatment operators, police and fire, of course. You bring out the Touch a Truck events and let the kids see the fire truck, but they loved also seeing the tractors and some of the huge equipment that our public works team uses on a day-to-day basis. And so that was a fun way for us to highlight the people that keep our community running every day in Parks and Recreation and also throughout the city. And so in 2023, as we highlight where community grows, we're doing our Growing with Parks and Rec event. So there's going to be a heavy environmental focus on this one. We're going to have some information on this event towards the end of the presentation, so I won't go into it too deep, but we will also bring forward some of those local heroes that will be speaking at that event and highlighting what they're doing day to day for our environment and our community as a whole. So that's what we did for the last 6 or so years. We're excited every April to see what the theme is from NRPA and how we can adapt that. We have some wonderfully creative minds in our department that get excited to change up what we're doing for Parks and Rec Month every year, so it never becomes stale. It's always something different. And on that note of amazing staff, we're going to show that video. We've already released the first staff highlight video. As Pete mentioned, this is focusing on our Parks and Recreation employees who grew up playing in our programs and participating and going out into our parks, and now they're working for us, which is incredible to see that full circle. So let's see, this is Jeff Lee.
Jeffrey Lee. I'm the coordinator here at the rec. I've lived in Port Orange my whole life. I grew up here at the rec center, basically playing sports, basketball, baseball, all that fun stuff. One of my favorite memories of being here at the city is going to summer camp. The cool thing is, Mr. Joel was one of my counselors. When I grew up, I actually became a counselor, and I worked right along next to him. Yeah, I played baseball. I remember one of my coolest memories in baseball was hitting a home run, which is pretty cool as a kid. I played third base and pitcher, and pretty much anywhere anybody needed help. It was pretty cool always going afterwards, going to Ritter's or something, getting ice cream. That's a fun thing we always did. After a win, or going to Manny's Pizza. That's another fun thing that we did. I played here in the city. I played baseball from one of those fields over there. Probably I would say I played on every single field here because I played so many years. So I work here at the rec center. I'm the program coordinator, so I put on special events and programs along with doing a lot of rentals. I've been here with the city for 2 years. I started off as a summer camp counselor. Then I got the opportunity to become a program leader, and finally I got full-time being a specialist, and just a couple weeks ago I just got coordinator. So
Nope. There we go.
All right, awesome. Yeah, we love creating those videos with our staff, and it's cool to watch it back as well. It really shows why we do what we do in our profession. This next slide here is just an overall snapshot of our July calendar. So we realize it's probably a busy slide to see on the screen there. As you'll see on the right-hand side of the special events, any of the special events, whether they're internal and put on by our department or their private rentals from the community, we add those to our calendar for Parks and Recreation, just to add to the overall fun of the month. And also it's kind of cool. It gives these individuals and companies, nonprofit organizations, just a little bit extra marketing for their events as well. The events that you will see on this calendar, the photo contest open, the Find the Frame, and the Find the Flamingos or Flamingo Hunt, those three are specific to Parks and Rec month, and we'll get more into those on the next slide. Also, one of the things that we really try to do this year, Friday, July 21st, is the Parks and Recreational Professionals Day. So not only do we try to highlight and advocate our department and give back to the community, we also want to make sure that we are giving back to our employees who work hard every day to provide awesome parks and facilities to the city of Port Orange. So we like to host a pancake breakfast for our employees the morning of the 21st on Parks and Rec Professionals Day, where our managers and up, we actually will get behind the grill and cook pancakes and bacon and serve them orange juice and serve all the employees, just to show, hey, we do appreciate you guys, and it's the least that we can do to highlight them on that day. So that's a super fun event and day that our employees look forward to as well. So getting into the month-long activities. So as I said before, the photo contest, Find the Flamingos and Find the Frame are specific to Parks and Rec month. So with the photo contest, it kind of tag teams Parks and Rec month, as well as kind of like Christmas in July for us. So the photo contest is a competition that we ask citizens to go around and really highlight special moments, whether it's their child fishing at a lake or participating in one of our programs, or a special moment in nature that they find with the wildlife in Port Orange. And we ask them to submit those photos to us via email or via Facebook. We typically, we get upwards of 100 photos now, and it's super popular. We will actually judge those, and in the winner of the competition that we announce towards the end of the month actually gets to be the grand marshal in our Christmas parade. So it gives them an initiative or some incentive to submit photos. And a lot of the photos that you see in the presentation, even the duck in this one and the child fishing in the lake on the previous 2 slides back, are from the actual photo competition that were submitted. So that's a super fun contest that the community looks forward to every year.
And then for the Find the Flamingos, this one changes each year. It's actually a partnership with the Port Orange Library. Port Orange Library is located in our city center park, which is one of our most active and central park locations. We ran a elf hunt, is how it originally started in 2020 during COVID, when we were trying to social distance a little bit more in a couple of our parks, and it was hugely popular. And our library folks saw that and said, we want to partner and do something similar. They wanted to do the summertime. We asked them, perfect, let's try to make that during Parks and Rec month for some synergy there. They've changed up the theming each year based around their summer reading theme. And so this year is Find the Flamingos, and there are 5 flamingos hiding in City Center Park up in the trees. And I'll tell you, for the amount of time and effort this one takes, which is not too much to go out and hide some flamingos and help co-market for the library, the public gets so excited about this. They saw it coming, I guess, and started sharing it immediately on social media posts. And we see people around the parks bringing their, little elementary age and younger, all looking up into the trees, and what they're doing. So it's been a fun activity that we continue to run each year with the library, and a good partnership.
And to add on to that one a little bit, it's funny internally with our employees, because we actually will put name tags on the flamingos or the elves or the dinosaurs of employees' names in our department. So employees kind of get into it as well to see, oh, which park am I hiding in? And they go to look for their own name. So it's super cool. And our parks department gets on bucket trucks and hides the flamingos or the elves or the dinosaurs super high up in trees, and they get into it. So we honestly didn't think it was going to get the response that it got when we first did the elves, and it took off. So it was something we looked at each other and we were like, oh, well, we got to keep that one, can't get rid of that one. So we have fun with that one. And lastly, Find the Frame is just, it's a cool, it's it's a picture frame that's huge that people can take selfies behind. And we do once a week, we hide it in 4 different parks. The first week is typically in City Center, where we host our 4th of July event around the lake. So that one's not super difficult to find. People know that it's going to be part of 4th of July. But then the remaining 3 weeks of the month, we hide it in 3 different other parks each week. And then we provide clues on social media as to the whereabouts of the frame. And then we urge people to go find it based on the clues and go to that park and take a picture behind it and then submit it on social media so that we can share it. And the idea behind this one is we have kind of what we like to call our regional parks, where people are more familiar with and they're more popular, but we really have some, like Bushman Park, what we like to call is a hidden gem. When you drive by it, it looks like it's just a shell parking lot with a small playground and a pavilion, and there's nothing to it. But if you actually get in the park and walk back over the walkway, it's this huge natural park with a huge lake, walking trails. There is almost unlimited wildlife there, between birds and fish, and huge photography opportunities there. So that's one of the ones that we always hide it in the park. So hopefully none of our citizens are listening and getting a front end look on where that one will be located, but we like to highlight Bushman Park as well.
So this is a little preview of what we're going to be putting out for that end of the month event. Like I said, we try to wrap up every Parks and Recreation month with an event for the community. This one is typically midday. It's for those kids that are out for summertime or the preschool age kids. So this is Growing with Parks and Rec. We'll have nature walks and a craft with seed plantings and send the kids home with something that they're actually growing. And then we're going to bring in a bunch of folks that have jobs related to the environment. So some you may not typically think of, like our wastewater treatment plant operators and some of our public works crews that truly do make an impact on keeping our city environmentally friendly. And then, of course, our parks professionals will be out there as well. And this is another thing that we found carried over really well from the past couple of years, is highlighting our local heroes. So more information is going out on our social media platforms shortly about this event, and then posted all over our parks. In terms of the marketing that we do for all of our events, it's on social media, all of our bulletin boards in our parks, near our pavilions. It also goes out in our city newsletter, some of our digital signage, and that's going to be for the calendar, our website, and also this event. All right, and these are some of the photos from our last Parks and Rec month event. As you can see, one of my favorites is our parks supervisor there with the kid up on the tractor. That's one way that we really try to make a connection with the folks that don't always forward face. They're not always working directly with the public at our events, and they get a huge kick out of it when we invite them out and highlight them as super important to everything we do. They do it behind the scenes most of the time, but when we can bring them public facing, we like to do that. And then we had our police and fire there as well, of course, and RecMan.
All right, and that is Parks and Rec month for the city of Port Orange in a nutshell, and what it means to us. Our contact information is on the screen with our social media, and that recreation@port-orange.org email does go directly to me. So any inquiries or questions you guys may have, please forward, and we'll be happy to answer any questions. And thank you again for having us.
Awesome. Thank you, Teresa and Peter, for the great presentation and all the inspirational programs that you guys have down there in Port Orange. Well, we are going to go ahead and move into the Q&A session. So if anyone watching live has a question, feel free to put that in the chat and we will answer a couple of them right now. We do have a few to get started. So for Stephanie, can you give a little more information about the proclamation that you guys have in Palm Beach County? And if you know, like, how it was started, or if that's something that you guys do every year. Just kind of some more background on what that proclamation is and what it means.
Yeah, sure. So the proclamation is actually done through our Board of County Commissioners. And so they have the Public Affairs Division, and that's for the county. And so we pretty much work with them. There's like a whole process where you have to like submit the proclamation. There's like the text. And I do believe NRPA does have like a template for the proclamation. So that comes in really handy. And so we pretty much give that, and it pretty much goes up the ladder. So we submit it for review and approval. And then the board meets on, I believe it's Tuesdays. And so pretty much they'll schedule it in and then they pretty much approve or reject it. But most times, I mean, they've been approving it for the last few years. Plus there's a handful of proclamations that they go through. And so, yeah, it's pretty much just like that kind of process. And we've been doing it for a couple of years now. And like I said, the one that we had was just yesterday. And so usually it's like mid-July by the time it goes through. So we pretty much work through public affairs and then the board.
Anna, can I add to that?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm sorry, I forgot to, and thank you, Stephanie. I forgot to mention that in our presentation. We also put the proclamation on one of our council agendas. We only have one council meeting in the month of July because of the holiday. So it typically occurs in the middle of the month. But we don't like to wait that long to highlight Parks and Rec month as July, or July as Parks and Rec month. So we actually will have the mayor at our 4th of July event. He will read the proclamation. We do our fireworks at 9 o'clock. So on our amphitheater at 8 o'clock, our city council goes up and speaks. So we will have them read the proclamation at the stage at the 4th of July event as well. And that goes over pretty well also.
Awesome. Thank you both. I think that's great information for anyone watching who is in Parks and Rec at their local level and wants to get a proclamation started in their area. I know both of you had talked about different ways you market your events. So this question is, what have you found to be the most successful way to reach people in the community to let them know about your park and recreation events, whether that's print, newsletters, or is it social media? Has anything stood out to you as being a really successful way to connect with people, especially those who aren't, everyday park and rec users? I don't know who wants to start. Maybe we'll start with Teresa and Peter, since you're on the.
Yeah, if I can jump in on that one. Social media is definitely the easiest, most cost-effective way for us. What we're finding lately is Facebook and some of the other platforms are changing up some of their algorithms, and some of our wordy flyers aren't as easy to disseminate as they used to be. What we're finding is photos and personal stories that people can connect with are much more popular and widespreading. So like with the photo contest, I imagine we'll get a lot of big buzz around that because we can share some of the photos that are taken out in our parks. When the theme was our Parks and Recreation story, we actually had people submit a story along with their photo, and then there's some voting involved in that, right? So then they're sharing it with their entire network to try to get the votes up. Those blew up and were really, really important for us and for our marketing efforts, because then they see that story, but they go in and read a little bit more about what we are doing for Parks and Recreation Month. So finding ways to highlight individuals, their stories, their photos, it has a huge impact on getting our word out on other things as well, if you can just highlight those first.
Great, thank you. Stephanie, do you have anything to add as far as from your perspective on what is, really connecting with audiences?
Yeah, so I definitely agree. Like social media is pretty much our top right now, and telling the story, and how when they submit this stuff to us, we post it on social media, and that does have a really good impact. We've been taking surveys at some of our outreach events, so that's been helping in our marketing efforts to see, because we asked, how do they hear about us? And so, yeah, social media is always the top question. We do have a newsletter that goes out, and so that's a list of all of our monthly events. And so we noticed that the newsletter that they sign up for electronically is a huge hit. And then also print, like we still have an audience here in Palm Beach County that does prefer the print as well. So we still do like the direct to mail, like the mailers that we work through our graphics division, and we'll still mail out print because some of the population here, they still prefer print over digital. So that's again part of that unique aspect of Palm Beach County between the residents and visitors and the diversity that we have. And so it's a little bit of everything, but yeah, we've noticed a lot, depending on the audience it's going to, it works for each audience.
Perfect, thank you. A question for Charla. Can you share some more information about the upcoming FRPA conference? Who would benefit from attending? For example, if someone hasn't been before, how would they know if it would be relevant to them? So you could maybe speak on that a little bit.
Right, yeah, that's a great question. So we do a conference annually generally in Central Florida, and it will be this year, the end of August 28th through the 31st. And it's for all park and recreation professionals at every level, from city, county, state, and then all the levels within there. It is targeted a little more towards those that maybe have decided that Parks and Recreation is their career, maybe not frontline or not frontline, but like entry level as much as people that want to further their park and recreation career. And there are over 140 different sessions that span from like park maintenance to aquatics to programming to leadership and management, human resource kind of things within departments. So really anybody that deals with Parks and Recreation or works with Parks and Recreation in any capacity would benefit from coming to the conference. We do have the full brochure released at this point. So people could take a look at that and just see if there are enough classes. We have a daily registration. So if like there's a bulk of classes on, say, Wednesday that really speak to you, you could just come for one day and kind of take advantage of the classes for that day. And then the conference itself also involves an exhibit hall. So there are vendors I think there's like 130 booths, and they are vendors that serve park and rec departments. So a lot of playgrounds, maintenance equipment, event rental places, even like technology, all that kind of stuff. So that's another advantage to being able to come and connect with those different vendors. And then there are some general sessions too, to kind of just get you pumped up and kind of refresh you for when you go back to the office. Because sometimes, we get stuck in doing the day-to-day stuff. So conference is a good time to come and get refreshed, get new ideas, and go back out there and feel like, yeah, I'm making a difference. So yeah, if you have questions about that or want more information, I'd be happy to send it along.
Great. And just to add it, you guys have like a buddy program, correct, for the conference for people that are new attendees?
Yeah. So if this is your new
website.
one, if this is your first conference, then we'll put you with somebody who's been to conference a couple other times and have them show you the lay of the land, because it's a little overwhelming. There's like 1,400 people and between the vendors and the participants. So
yeah, well, great. Thank you so much for giving us more information about that. We have a question here about wildlife and habitats in parks, and maybe between any of our speakers, if you wanted to highlight a certain aspect of your celebrations that includes wildlife or really brings the message home that wildlife and habitat is important to parks and recreation. I know obviously, Stephanie, you guys have the squirrel mascot, which definitely plays into that. But if any of our other speakers would like to add about how you incorporate wildlife and habitat into your celebrations.
I'll jump in because so with the theme, like for this year, it is community. And so like, although outside of community, like our golf courses, and so like our golf courses are actually like Audubon certified, and they're like Audubon certified sanctuaries, which means that the staff, with the golf course, they've been able to develop a relationship between preserving the natural aspects and the animals, and then also while having that recreational activity. And so things like that will highlight and, bring awareness of, like, yes, our mascot is a squirrel because it's most, I think it's the Eastern gray common. It's a very common squirrel in our parks. But we also have a lot of PSAs too on animal safety as well, like alligators. So we have, we bring awareness to that as well, being cautious because, it's Florida, there's a lot of open lakes in the park, or presence of, so it's kind of like that aspect. So we highlight, the importance of like the balance. It's like finding the balance, again, like even nature photography. We find the balance with that as well. We're like, yes, we promote, nature photos, but like if there's an owl burrow in a tree, we don't we don't highlight that as much because we don't want a bunch of people going out to that area and surrounding it for the photos. So we try to find like a delicate balance with that. But even like our parks, like Green Cay Nature Center is a beautiful place. It's a wetlands and it's home to a variety of birds. And so it's just, that aspect as well. And then our natural areas, we have a handful of natural areas in the county too, which are also home in the Riverbend Parks and other ones. We do have a handful of parks that are home to a variety of animals, birds, deer, and things like that. So we just, we focus on the balance. and, not over promoting something or oversharing something. That way it's just, really the key word is the balance.
Perfect. Yeah, I think definitely we can all relate to that as park professionals, having that balance between getting people engaged with nature so that they are passionate about preserving it while also preserving what we already have. So thank you so much for sharing about that. We are getting down to the end here, so I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. But like I said, I'll be sending out the presentations with contact information. So if any of our viewers of the recording or live want to ask follow-up questions, feel free to do so. Thank you so much again to all 4 of our speakers for joining us today for Recreation and Parks Month. I'll be sending out a survey about the webinar today, along with a link to the recording over the next few days once that's ready. And if you're not already subscribed to our webinar series, be sure to visit our website, floridadep.gov/OGT, to sign up for next month's webinar. And if you have any questions or feedback, please feel free to reach out to us at Office of Greenways and Trails at floridadep.gov. So thank you again for our viewers, and thank you again to our speakers. And we'll go ahead and see you guys next month.